Good morning, good afternoon, and good night. My name is Marvin Fox Jr. This is Become the podcast. How do you become anything you dream, you declare, you commit, and success is your next breath. So I got my good friend Blake. We're going to talk a little bit about this Grammy Award winning performance by Kyrie Irving for Uncle Drew. And then we're also going to talk about LeBron James. Now, the thing is, we've already done one podcast where we talked about DeMarcus Cousins, and we also, is that all we talked about?
Paul George.
And Paul George. So we talked about DeMarcus Cousins and Paul George in terms of the free agency, and we didn't talk about King James. And so Blake was like, no, why don't we make that part two? We have to talk about King James. Who does a free agency podcast and doesn't talk about King James? So we're going to go backwards. So the first thing we want to do is talk about Uncle Drew. So I seen it yesterday with my son. You took your high school basketball team out, correct?
Correct.
All right. So since you're the guest, you go first. You tell me what you thought.
Well, it was interesting because my assistant and I, shout out to Ken Parks, went in there with our team. And we watched it, and literally my assistant and I are looking at each other like, this movie is garbage. And it is the worst movie we've ever seen, and we can't wait for it to be over. And we were almost embarrassed because we were like, man, the guys probably hate it and they're going to be mad. And then we leave the theater and they all loved it. They all thought it was hilarious and great. And we're just like, really? Okay, sure. Great, awesome. So, it was fine. There were some funny moments. I just thought that the plot was really uneventful, and the main character, not Uncle Drew, but the overweight.
Yeah, I don't know his
gentleman.
name.
I don't know his name either. He just was really forced and just bad, in my opinion. My assistant brought up a good point. He goes, if the main guy would have been Kevin Hart, this movie would have been amazing. But
yeah,
that guy, he just kind of ruined it for us.
Sure. So I thought it was a bit of a cheese fest.
Yeah.
But I understand. So there's a couple things that I did. There's a few things that I understood, and some things that I did not like. So I thought it was a cheese fest. These are some of the things that I did not like. I did not like the fact that the hooping wasn't real. One of the reasons why we love He Got Game and why He Got Game is such an awesome movie is because the hooping was real. The main scene when they're at the park, all those dudes were hooping, and Spike Lee just took a hoop scene or basically an open gym session. He chopped it up and created a narrative that made you think that, Ray Allen's team made some shots, missed some shots, but ultimately won with a lob. You know what I'm saying? But he said that he let those guys play. So it wasn't above the rim when everything was a dunk and everything was a lob or anything like that, and every jump shot went in. So I was hoping that they would let those guys play. And so I realized that you got Lisa Leslie, that they made Lisa Leslie either shoot jump shots or she did the same drop step spin move every time she shot. They had Reggie Miller coming off screens, and all he did was shoot. He didn't do anything else cool, and I think he made a layup. I don't even know if Chris Webber can move anymore. So I think he got one dunk, and then he shot a layup, and then he shot some jump shots. And then obviously they let Kyrie kind of get busy, and they let Nate Robinson get busy. I wish that if they were going to play with just these old people, not that they're old, but in terms of they can barely move and walk. I wish they would have showed them doing fundamental things let Shaq duck in on somebody. Let him duck in, and let this whole getting buckets thing be about all the pro stuff that kids probably wouldn't see in a pickup game. So why not let Reggie Miller trick somebody off of a screen? You know what I'm saying? Some of the stuff that Reggie Miller probably did in the pros to get free. Why not have him do some of that stuff? Why not give it to Chris Webber in the post, see somebody do like a screen slip, and then Chris Webber's like faking the pass to the perimeter and then throwing a behind the back pass to the cutter. You know what I'm saying? Like, why not if you're going to choreograph it, why not show the guys getting buckets doing these, cool, like really like plays, like playing the game?
I got 2 responses for that.
Okay, go ahead.
One is I totally agree with you, and that would have been awesome, especially because like when you looked at the Uncle Drew Pepsi commercials, he always talked about the fundamentals, and
sure,
buckets, and playing the game the right way. So it would have been cool to for them to mix in the highlights with some fundamental like backdoors and duck ins and things like you're talking about. That would have been great. But when you go back to kind of my story, who enjoyed the movie?
Kids.
Who's the demographic?
Kids.
You know what I mean? If the movie was made for adults, like He Got Game was made for adults, like
sure, that
works. But if it would have been Reggie Miller reading a down screen and Chris Webber picking and popping the whole time, like the kids wouldn't have liked it.
Yeah, so that part annoyed me that the basketball stuff was just dunk shot after dunk shot after dunk shot after dunk shot, or freaky layup after freaky layup, so on and so forth. I understand that Chris Webber, I think, did a really good job with his character. Like
I agree.
This preacher, he was awesome. So I understand that you had to get these people who are comfortable in front of the television, comfortable in front of the camera, so they can bring these characters to life. So you got to.
Chris Webber should quit doing games and start acting. Because that dude's terrible.
Well, I just I was like, I understand that they have to compromise, guys who can actually play. You know what I'm saying? Like still play, get up and down and stuff like that, for guys who can act. You know what I'm saying? So I understand that, and it's like, okay, if you get some guys who can play, then can they act? Are they going to be good on a screen? I also wish that maybe they could have just got like some NAI players. So like, okay, if you get some NAI players, those guys are still good enough to, make the games look realistic, but they're not going to be better than these pros. Like if these pros decide to get loose, they're still going to kill these guys. That's why I was thinking there's a way that you could have probably got the right type, because you couldn't get like All-American Division I players. Like those guys would like run up and down the floor. But if you get NAI guys, they can run up and down the floor, but they're not going to make these old retired NBA professionals and WNBA professionals look bad. So that way you can still kind of play and it still looks realistic, but at the same time the pros should dominate these NAI players. Anyway, that annoyed me. The funniest part of the movie for me was the other lead character. He was the funniest when he was, from the moment he went to Aaron Gordon, when he came in to get the Jordans. From that point to when he got kicked out of his girl's apartment, that was hilarious.
That was funny.
After that, like every part, the Foot Locker scene was silly. The being at the crib with his girl, that part was silly. Getting kicked out, watching ESPN, like all that stuff was funny. After that, it was not funny at all. And all of the Viagra jokes, they weren't funny. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then the play was terrible. And like you said, it was anticlimactic. Like, we know this has to happen. And then he gets the second shot. But again, kids might be like, God, that's awesome. But I was just like, I was like you, man. I was like, bro, come on, man. Just get it over with.
Yep, 100%.
But Marv liked it. He's 10. So Marv liked it.
I'm sure it's his favorite movie.
He went there. He put on his Kyries. We got him a pair of Kyries. He took his he wore his Kyries there. He came back home. He's got to get up. He's got to make 100 shots every day before he can play PlayStation. So he has 20 shots to make when he came home in order to play his PlayStation. So he came back home. He immediately got his Kyries. I saw him doing dribble moves and stuff like that, stuff that we don't work on. But he was inspired by the movie, and I'm like, that makes sense. That's exactly what happened when I saw, the movies that I saw, the basketball movies that I saw when I was coming up. I was inspired, and so it worked.
Yeah. Yep. That's what matters.
Yeah. So anyway, that movie is terrible. So Drew, I saw Drew the next day. I was like, he's like, what did you think? I said, it's a cheese fest. He actually said, is it a cheese fest? And I was like, yeah, it was. And so he said, should I go see it? Because I don't have anything to do this all day. I said, should I go see it? I was like, I don't think so. He says, okay, I'll just go see Ant-Man. So I think he was to go see Ant-Man, but I said, if you see it on TV, you're not going to just go past it. You're gonna watch it for a little bit. But it was, it's
a renter. It's a renter.
But it wasn't Ray Allen a part of the original Uncle Drew like Pepsi commercials?
I don't think so.
I think Kevin Love was one of them. I know Kevin Love was for sure because remember.
Yeah, I know Kevin Love and Nate Robinson were, and then was Maya Moore in there?
Yeah,
there's a WNBA player in there.
She dunked.
Yeah, but I don't remember Ray Allen being in there. I could be wrong.
You got to check it out. I felt like Ray Allen, this guy. They had this guy who, they made him. They make him slow motion at the beginning. He's shooting shots. He's airballing shots, and all of a sudden he just gets wet. He's just.
Yeah, I don't know. So did I tell you in the first podcast that you need to read his book?
No.
Bro, it's awesome. You will love it. You will absolutely love it. You need to read his book.
Let's talk. Let's switch over to that real quick.
Okay.
What does he talk about his process in terms of shooting and working out?
He does. He talks a lot about like the different things that he focuses on. The big thing that I took away was he really, really tries to jump the same height every single time he shoots.
Sure.
And he said that was a big reason why he hit that shot in Miami was because even though he's moving backwards and everything's so chaos, all he was thinking about was getting as high as he normally does.
Yeah.
And if you think about it, like when you're moving backwards like that and you need to lift up, like if you're thinking about that, then it's the same as every other shot.
Sure.
But to you and I, like, if we were to practice that shot today, we'd probably be short because our legs are into it. So it's really interesting. But he really tells the story of his career, and he does not pull punches in terms of throwing people under the bus that he didn't agree with or had issues with, and people that he loved. Like he talks about that. Like it's really cool to kind of get in his mindset. And why he is in his mindset, like that military background and the way his father was and the way his mother was, into the pros and the people that affected him in a positive and a negative way is really cool. Really cool.
I know he focuses a lot on the jumping because he was big on staying the same weight so that he never had to worry about his jumping being compromised because he was always the same weight. So he does the same exercises and continues to strengthen himself, the same way, maintain his strength and stays at the same weight, then he should be able to jump the same height every time. But I know, I'm sure with age, you're going to jump a little less. The springs are going to be a little less. So then he would always be careful about his weight and how it impacted his jumping and his leap. So I know he focused a lot on that, but it's funny to think that he was so caught up in the process that his thing was, if I can just jump the same height, I'm good. And it wasn't even him who figured it out. He had some really good shooting coach early in his NBA career tell him that he knew that he was going to have a good shooting night one night because in his pre-game routine that all of his shots were the same lift. Go ahead. And so he went out and he shot really well that night, and that's what the shooting coach had told him. Which, God, that would be like the most fun job in the world, be a shooting coach in the NBA. Goodness gracious. But it was really cool how, like, he was like, he's like, that makes a lot of sense. And it just seems like the dude listens. You know what I mean? Like, sure.
He, like, really, really has a lot of respect for Calhoun, the old Connecticut coach, for those of you who don't know. And talks a lot about him and the impact that he had. And, like, he would do things like when Ray Allen left the gym in college, Calhoun would walk up to him and say, "Hey, Ray, did you make all your shots today?" And then he would just like walk away and not let him answer. And he knew, like, Ray Allen knew at that point, he's like, man, I need to get back in the gym. I need to not leave right after practice. I need to go in there and shoot more. And so it was just like little cool things like that. You really need to read it. You'll read it in like 2 days because you won't be able to put it down.
Well, first of all, like, Calhoun was notorious for developing pro wings. I mean, for a while, you had Rudy Gay, Ray Allen, Caron Butler, Richard Hamilton, and then I feel like, I mean, and that's the.
What about the little dude who played for the Nets? What was his name? Kerry Kittles.
No, Kelly Kittles was Villanova.
Oh, that's right.
But I forget. Eric Gordon, not Eric Gordon.
Eric Gordon was Indiana.
It's a Gordon, Ben Gordon.
Oh, Ben Gordon. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So he went for a while there, man. For a while, I mean, they every other year, or it seemed like they always had somebody waiting, that, you know, somebody at that 2 guard or that 3 position that could just flat out play, that you knew that if they went to the pros, they were going to be fine. And I'm probably missing a few others. He
I think was not the start of it, but like his freshman year was the start of it, because they were terrible before he showed up. And he showed up, and I didn't even know this, but I didn't know Danielle Marshall went there.
Yeah, Danielle Marshall, yeah.
And he like really had a positive effect on Ray. And then I think there was somebody else, I forget who it was. I think like James Jones or something like that was there. And so like that was like the beginning of the NBA from UConn era.
Yeah. They for a while, man, they were doing it. But it's
because like on his recruiting visit, like they weren't any good. But like people were making fun of Ray for making that decision. He was like, "No, you don't understand. Like we're going to be really good."
And it's funny.
He just knew.
And they became a Nike elite school like really fast too.
I don't remember that.
Well, you could just look. I mean, it's just like Nike. Like they had these jerseys that looked okay, and then all of a sudden they had like their own design. Like UConn had their own design, and that was like the only team in all of college that had their own design. Like some schools had their own design. You know what I'm saying? Like you would never ever see another Duke design. You would never see a UConn design. Like certain schools were elite and they had their own jersey. And so that was kind of how you could distinguish, you know, just like a regular school, like a Nike school from an elite Nike school. And you can kind of still do this today. You know, the Nike elite schools look a certain way. But there's also something that I was talking to somebody else about. We was having a conversation about elite players and how, you know, a lot of these elite players, you wonder if they're able to really be coached. You know what I'm saying? Like if a guy is one and done, is that guy really willing to be coached? You know what I'm saying? So like you look at the point guard position. The point guard position is really tough because if a guy has been handling the basketball, and we were talking about Trey Burke, I think in Sexton, we were saying not Trey Burke, but Trey Young. We're talking about Trey Young and Sexton, and I was saying it's so hard for those guys to develop in the NBA because if you've had the basketball since birth, right? You've had the basketball, you've been running the show, you've been getting all the shots, you've been able to shoot whenever you want to, and then you go to college and you're able to do the same thing. And for that kid, if he understands the leverage that he has, meaning if the coach coaches that kid too hard, right? Says he puts him, you know, he puts him in a doghouse when he does the wrong thing. If he doesn't play him, whatever the case may be, if he like really disciplines him and coaches him properly, accordingly, right? Does that coach's reputation get tarnished? You know what I'm saying? Now is that coach going to get another 5-star, you know, elite player? Number one. Number two, if that kid doesn't play, right, and that kid could potentially be a draw in terms of revenue and whatnot, and now the shareholders and now the boosters are saying, hey, how come this kid isn't playing? You know what I'm saying? Y'all, whether you lose or not or whatever, if you're losing, how come this kid isn't playing? It puts a lot of pressure on that coach to basically play that kid and let that kid play. Let that kid take shots. Let him take chances. You know what I'm saying? And then in the back of that coach's mind, he knows this kid is gone in a year. So now you hope that when you get that high level elite basketball talent, you hope that that kid wants to be coached. You know what I'm saying? And wants to listen, so that when they go to the next level, they have a chance. Like I just find it hard to believe that a lot of these kids, as humble as they may seem on the, you know, in the interview, are they as coachable as they come off? And will they allow a coach to coach them accordingly so that they can really be as good as possible? Because we see a lot in the NBA that a lot of these players, they're good with the ball in their hand, but the tough thing the thing that's the toughest for them is, can they play without without the ball. And that's what coaching does for you. It teaches you how to be a complete player. That's why John Wall is still struggling. I mean, he puts up numbers, but his team's going to continue to struggle because when he leaves the ball, he's no good. But you look at somebody like Donovan Mitchell. Donovan Mitchell understands already how to play off the ball. And that's why he was able to beat Russell Westbrook, who doesn't know how to play off the ball, and beat him, 4-1?
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, I think that it's really nice for programs like Duke and Kentucky and the teams that have really, really like mastered it, so they can like pick which one and dones they want to recruit and which ones they don't.
Sure.
But for the rest, I think you're right. I mean, it's a tough battle, and I think the one and done rule has put these schools in such a tough spot that it's a really difficult thing, man. It's a really difficult dynamic because, like, at that point, really, you're giving the power to the players over the coaches, and in the amateur setting like that, it's brutal. I mean, that's just brutal.
You can't coach them.
Yeah. So I mean, you should be able. Like, I would hope that the coaches would just say, "Forget it. I'm just coaching the way I believe is right." But I'm sure human nature takes over.
Well, the other thing, and then we'll switch over to the NBA, but the other thing is you got to remember that coach isn't just coaching for himself. That coach is coaching for his coaching staff. So now this guy gets fired, 9 times out of 10, everybody's losing their job. You know?
Well, and he's talking about family.
And family too. Now where does the family got to go? Yeah,
I'm putting food on my family's table. I had a coach tell me a long time ago that you haven't really coached unless winning and losing games has determined your job status, your family status.
Yeah, you told me that.
Now, like, to this day, I haven't really coached then. Because none of my wins and losses have mattered in terms of my, the food on my table.
It's a different level of pressure because, again, you got to think about your family, and then you got to think about your coaching staff's family. And so that's when it's like, do I cheat? Do I let this player play and keep my job, or do I coach the hell out of this kid in hopes that it'll all justify everything in the end? That's why what Beeline does is so cool, because he's not getting these high level players, but Beeline's had such a good track record. U of M's not trying to win the championship. They just want a quality product, and they want to graduate players. They have like a reputation thing that they're doing. So he can develop players a certain way. But you go to some of these other programs, it's like, bro, if you don't win in the next so and so, you got problems. But let's switch over to LEEBRO. So what are your thoughts about LEEBRO going to LA and some of the acquisitions that have been made to support him in the light of some of his help wanting to go elsewhere and signing elsewhere?
Wow, that's such a big question. First of all, I think that LeBron going there seems like it's a lifestyle decision in terms of just kind of going to LA, Magic Johnson, billionaire athlete, he's got a couple homes in LA. But I can't believe that he has not gotten, like, duped a little bit. Where, like, he had to have thought that Paul George was coming.
Sure.
And he had to have thought that Kawhi wanted to come.
Yeah.
Or he had to have thought Boogie was coming. Because it just doesn't seem like LeBron to just be like, yeah, I'm going to go to LA. They got a bunch of young guys, and if there are some stars that want to come later, that'd be great.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, that just doesn't seem like a LeBron move. Like, in all honesty, and if he did, like, respect to him, because, I've been saying his whole career that he just jumped from super team to super team, and
sure.
If anybody shouldn't be mad about the Warriors, it should be him, because he started all this, in my opinion. In terms of the people that they've signed around him, with, like, Rondo and Lance, and who's the other guy?
Who else did they sign? I was just about to look it up.
The two-way. There's that two-way guard.
Pope.
Pope, yeah.
I can't get his whole name out.
I don't like those guys. Like, those aren't NBA players that I would want on my team.
Yeah.
Just because of locker room issues and, honestly, height. But what I honestly think that they're doing, if I had to play devil's advocate and tell you, like, kind of what the Lakers are doing,
Yeah.
I think that they looked at the Celtics, and the Celtics, when Brad Stevens first went there with Danny Ainge, their strategy was, we're going to get every guy that we can that has something to prove and that has a chip on their shoulder, and we're going to build a team around those guys, and we're going to overachieve because everybody really, really wants to play well and they have something to prove.
Sure.
And that's how they won all those games with Isaiah Thomas and Marcus Smart and all those guys before they had all these young studs come in, because their talent, their roster was terrible, but they played really, really hard. They were coached well, and they all had something to prove.
Sure.
And you look at this is a off sport topic, which I don't even know if you know about, but the Las Vegas, I don't even know what their mascot is. A hockey team made the Stanley Cup this year, right?
I do know that. They won,
and
it was against Washington.
Yeah, it's the same. It was the same scenario for them. They were a bunch of guys that got let go because teams didn't want them, and they rallied around it. They overachieved because they played their butts off.
Yeah.
And so, if I had to play devil's advocate on what Magic Johnson is thinking, I think that has to be it, because you can't sit there and tell me that you think that LeBron, Rondo, Lance Stevenson, and McGee and Pope are going to work. There's no way that you think that that's actually going to work, because LeBron is the best jump shooter out of that group, and that's not a good look for an NBA team at all. You do have some young talent around, but Rondo can be a problem in the locker room. Lance can be a problem in the locker room. LeBron could be a problem in the locker room.
Yeah.
It just seems like a time bomb waiting to explode, unless they just rally around it and Luke Walton does a heck of a job as a coach, which I think he's going to be. I think he's a really good coach, but I think he's going to be in for a rude awakening this year, because it's not a bunch of young guys who every game you win, everybody congratulates you and is happy about.
Yeah, I think something went wrong.
Yeah. Yes,
I think something went wrong. I think, as I told you before, I think that Paul George thought about the reality of playing with LeBron. And if no one blames LeBron, no one's blamed LeBron for a loss probably since, they lost to the Dallas Mavericks.
Dallas. Yeah.
Because he's, and then once he started playing once he came back to Cleveland, I think something that he figured out, I think the first time they lost is all he has to do is just play. There really, really isn't any pressure. He doesn't, I don't think, plays with this notion that he's being pressured at all. I think he just plays the game. He knows he can put up awesome numbers, and when he really
Are you talking about LeBron now or PG?
Yeah, I'm going to get to PG. But
okay, so you're talking about LeBron right now.
Yeah. I think
awesome.
Yeah, I think he figured all this out, right? So he figured out how to play, he figured out how to perform at a high level. And so he can do that wherever, right? And he's going to do that wherever. And so since he started playing with this high level of confidence and he's been able to play, he really isn't to blame. He really isn't to blame, because he's going to put up these awesome numbers. But the problem is, for some reason, the way he plays doesn't always incorporate everybody. It just doesn't always work. So you got somebody like Kyrie who made it work, but it didn't necessarily work with them. You know what I'm saying? It did work because they got a championship, but it didn't necessarily work with them, because it's we have to do everything that LeBron wants to do when he wants to do it, right? So I have to kind of move around this dude and all this other stuff and kind of play the way he wants to play. Same thing with Kevin Love. And so now when they win, LeBron gets all the love. But when they lose, these other guys get it. And Kevin Love's been getting it, for the last 2 years, right? Yeah. And I think Paul George looked at that and said, you know what, I don't want to be a part of that narrative. I don't want to be a part of the narrative where LeBron James plays, he puts up his numbers, I have a subpar game, and I get, I'm going to get thrown to the wolves. So I think, again, he said it's better to be over here in OKC. And I think Kawhi, wanting to build his own brand, thought the same thing. I don't want to play in this dude's shadow. I'm never going to sell shoes, or I'm never going to get the deals. I mean, because I'm playing with the show. And so, man, I think you're right. I think he got shafted a little bit. I think some things went a little bit left. And now he's in a situation where I don't know where the help's going to come from. I don't even know if guys really want to play with Brown like that. These young up and coming stars. I don't know if they really want to play, because now you're talking about his peers wanting to play with him. That would have been Dwayne Wade, who's Melo. And I think now, like, LeBron look at Melo like, nah, bro. Nah. Nah. So who is like chomping at the bit? And like Chris Paul's in a great situation. So who's chomping at the bit to play with this dude? It's not like a Ray, you know what I'm saying, or a Chris Bosh, or a young Kevin. Like who wants to play with this dude? You know what I'm saying?
Dude, I think this Kyrie thing hurt him a lot in terms of attracting free agents.
Yeah,
it hurt a lot because I mean it was just, I think Kyrie was just sick of it, and I think there's other people that were sick of it, and it hurts him. It just hurts him in terms of attracting free agents.
Well, you look at
and I really think that we may have seen LeBron in his last NBA Finals.
Oh, dude, there's no way. There's no way. I don't care if it's LA. I don't care if LA is an awesome destination for players to play. I just can't. I can't think of any super, especially with them giving out these max and the super max. Somebody just got the super max. I feel like it's like somebody just got 200 million or something like that. But with the super max, small market teams can keep their players, right? And then even if it's just the max, people, teams can keep their players. So I can't even think of a superstar who's out there who's like, yeah, that makes sense. I'm going to go play with LeBron. I'm going to be a sidekick, or I want to join forces with him. Because again, all those guys are not being retained, and then the talent that was out there that was supposed to be his road dogs, those guys aren't available either. So now you got to hope that Ball develops. You got to hope that what's his face, Ingram develops. But I just don't see a world
in a hurry.
Yeah, and look, in the Western Conference, man, it's that's the wild, wild west. It's real out there.
Well, and what I think is funny, and I'm not the hugest LeBron fan, but I think part of the reason that he drove people nuts in Cleveland was all these one-year contracts and not committing to the team and to the franchise. It was always, where's LeBron going? What's it going to do? And I think it drove people nuts. And now I think what's hilarious is he has no leverage in LA because the dude's making $200 million and he's going to sign a 4-year deal.
Wow.
So it's not like he can be like, hey, Max, you need to trade me. I'm done with this. No, dude, you're stuck. Like, you signed a 4-year deal. You're done.
Yeah.
And you're staying.
And man. Yeah.
Because every move Cleveland made, they had to make because of what LeBron wanted to do, and because he was always on a 1-year deal and always threatening to leave.
Sure. I think he's trusting that Magic will figure it out.
Yeah.
And that
that can be the only explanation. And so far, I don't think it's going well. I just don't. Nah, dude.
Nah. And then it's like, okay, in year 16, is he going to try to do what he did last year, and he's going to play? And I guess they're saying that and maybe this is the sell, but they're like, well, he can play in the post now. We're gonna play a different way. We're gonna put you in the post. We're gonna defensively. We're gonna be better. We're gonna be longer, which they could be with Ingram, LeBro, JaVale McGee, Lonzo.
Bro, they are in trouble. They are in big trouble.
You're right. And you said you thought they were gonna get even if they got DeMarcus Cousins, he still wouldn't be able to play.
Yeah, until January.
Yeah, man.
Who do you take today in a 7-game series, OKC or Los Angeles?
Man.
I know. It's a tough one.
I was gonna say this was the cop out. I was gonna say you got to see what else. Okay, so now that they just gave up, they're getting rid of Melo. That's gonna open up some cap space. Now you got to see who wants to play with Russ.
Today, Marv, as rosters are today.
I know. I was just a cop out. I'll go with LeBro. I'll go with Leebro because I was just gonna say, well, Leebro, because Russ has PG, and we know that PG is going to crap the bed when it counts.
Yeah, but who's going to guard Russ?
But again, exactly. So as I was thinking about PG-13, but then I thought about, okay, well then, like, who's LeBron's help? Like, who's going to guard Russ? He'll eat up Lonzo. Even though Lonzo's gotten bigger, he'll just still eat him up just off of sheer.
He would eat him up.
And
out of sheer will.
Yeah, yeah. I'll choose LeBron because at this point, you just can't. You shouldn't unless you're talking about the Warriors. You should never ever bet against Leebro. I mean, he's gained that much respect. You just shouldn't count him out.
I agree with you unless, and this is going to be another cop out, but I agree with you unless Russell Westbrook makes some serious adjustments in his game. Like if he starts shooting less 3-pointers, starts moving the basketball earlier, I would if they made adjustments and had a more free flowing offense this year, I'd be like, come playoff time, I'll take them over LA. But until that happens, I'm with you. I think Ingram's going to be really good. I think Ingram's going to have now, like, he's going to be on an island all the time. He's going to have the second best perimeter defender on him on every team.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he has some potential. I don't know that he's an all-star, but he could be.
But you always have to think about the psychology of a player who was once able to shoot a shot, any shot he wanted for the most part, with the ultra green light. And now, when he decides to shoot his between the leg into a hezzy pull-up jumper that's a long 2 or a long 3, and he sees LeBron over there with his hands up, or he sees LeBron over there calling for the ball, how does that impact his confidence? It's the same thing when Dwayne Wade and LeBron and Chris Bosh teamed up, and they will call the play for LeBron. There's pressure because now you're looking at Bosh like that dude is an all-star averaging 25 points a game. Should he be getting this shot? Dwayne Wade's already got a championship. He's already led the league in scoring. Should he be getting this shot? And think about when all those other guys had their number called or decided to ISO or decided to go at somebody, they were always thinking, well, should somebody else be shooting this shot? Because those are two all-stars over there. You see what I'm saying? And eventually they figured it out. Chris Bosh took the low road. LeBron was basically quarters 1 through 3.5. He did his thing, and then Dwayne Wade was like the closer. You know what I'm saying? They all kind of figured out their roles. So it's going to be interesting to see if Ingram can continue to shoot with the same confidence, knowing that 23's over there, and maybe 23 should be getting this shot in this situation.
Don't call him 23.
My bad. My bad. Shots fired.
That's a really good point because you talk J.R. Smith, which that's a whole other conversation, but he talked about how hard it is to play with LeBron because of that pressure. And J.R. Smith, 1 is LeBron's boy, and 2 is a vet. So if he's talking that way, what's a third-year player who's 19, 20 years old going to do?
And look, that's the reason why people can dog JR as much as they want, but he was the perfect teammate for LeBron because he had no conscience. So he can be you need a guy who doesn't have a conscience that can go 3 or 4 plays, not touch the ball, not shoot the ball, but then shoot the second that he gets it and have confidence that it's going in. Because most guys, they're rhythm guys. They're rhythm guys. They got to get touches. They got to shoot the ball. They got to be involved in the play in order for them to shoot well. You know what I'm saying? But not many guys can do what Shane Battier did for a lot of his career. Not many people can do what Ray Allen turned into at the tail end of his career, going from a 20-point scorer, a guy who was the centerpiece of his own team in Seattle, and then became he became like Kyle Korver on steroids. You know what I'm saying? A guy who can just move off the floor. Basically, he became Reggie Miller at the end of his career.
I wonder if Magic thinks that Lance Stevenson is that guy. is the J.R. Smith of their group, where he won't care.
No, dude.
If he won't care if LeBron. Lance he's not gonna care if LeBron thinks he took a bad shot. You know he's not gonna care.
Yeah.
But he also, I think, will have the confidence to shoot when he hasn't had the ball
sure.
in the last 10 possessions. Now, is it legitimate confidence? Is it valid confidence? Maybe not, but he's gonna have it.
It's definitely
he's gonna shoot it.
It's definitely irrational confidence, but now that when we had this conversation about J.R. Smith and how much of a fit he was with LeBro, it makes sense. Like, you need a guy who's going to compete and doesn't have much of a conscience to play with somebody like LeBron. So, like, when he decides to go, he's not looking over his shoulder thinking LeBron should have this. He's thinking, no, I should be doing what I'm doing. You just hope that he exercises that mentality at the right moments. You know what I'm saying?
You know what's gonna happen? With this, I'm gonna tell you, LeBron better watch his body language on the bench. Now that video came out with him and Ty Lue, if there's like any scuffles between him and Lance or anybody on that bench, it's gonna be all over the place.
Well, I'll tell you this, and we got 4 minutes left. I was listening to, God, I can't remember, but they were saying how Kobe seems so excited and inviting to have LeBron in La La Land because he wants to see what LeBron does with the scrutiny and the constant critique. And although they're like, Kobe's so excited and so complimentary of LeBron being in this station, saying that he understands what it's like to be a Laker already. He gets it. And many people think, especially with the conversation being about LeBron being about better than Mike and that Kobe not being a part of it, Kobe's like secretly like, I'm so glad you're here. I'm so glad you have these bums to play with. Let's see how good you are under these circumstances. And let's see how you deal with the press and the pressure and the constant critique. Let's see what you do, because I handled it like a G. Let's see if you can handle it.
Yeah, that will be interesting. I'll tell you, if you were to ask me 2 months ago, where do you want him to go? Where do you want LeBron to go? I would have said LA. Like, this is what I wanted.
Yeah.
I wanted him in the West, and I wanted him to have a team that he had to carry still.
Yeah.
Because, I hate the argument like, well, LeBron never lost in the first round, or LeBron never got swept. I'm like, bro, he never played Larry Legend in the first round. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, man. Like,
after missing 80% of the season with a broken leg, it's still dropping 60.
Dude, some of the stuff that some of the things that they talk about, like, they talk about these numbers that LeBron put up. Like, what was Mike doing? He was playing in college for 3 years. So, of course, his numbers are not going to be. Of course, the total stats are irrelevant.
It's very, very impressive for LeBron. Like, it's not irrelevant in terms of the grand scheme of things, but it's irrelevant in the Michael Jordan argument.
Like, real talk, if you this is my argument now for anybody. This is my barbershop argument. Whose life would you want, LeBron's or Mike's? Like, whose NBA narrative would you want, LeBron or Mike's? Like, if LeBron is so out cold, would you want to be the dude who got the girl every single time, or you want to be the dude who got the girl 3 times out of 9? Like, whose career? And every time, nobody's like, yeah. Let me take the 37% winning percentage in the playoffs. Let me take that. So that's my new thing. I got it locked and loaded, but of course, now that I got this locked and loaded, nobody wants to talk about it anymore. But it's fine.
People really aren't going to want to talk about it after this year.
Yeah, I'm gonna be.
It's gonna be chirping. There's gonna be nothing from LeBron fans.
Well, I think it's gonna come back up, because I think everybody in the media always brings up the mic thing because it just gets listeners and everything. But I'm gonna let you go, man. We gotta get together because that this 45 minutes goes way too fast. But I'm gonna get back with you soon, and we'll get back on the podcast ASAP.
All right, sounds good, man.
Yep, Thanks
for having me.
Yep.
All right, peace.
Well, that was my good friend Blake. He signed off. I got the little ending music going on, so let me get to my mantra as we listen to my man Otis take us away. Greatness lives on the edge of death. I'm not afraid to die. I will fight for my dreams. I will celebrate my dreams, and I will die for my dreams. Thoughts are things. Everything starts off as a thought first. I want to thank my man Blake once again for joining the podcast, and I'll be talking to you soon, man. You all take care. I am R. Fox Jr. Done.